Now our gospel reading comes from Luke 18, 9 to 14, which can be found on page 81 of the Pew Bible. He also told this parable to some who trusted in themselves that they were righteous and regarded others with contempt. 2 men went up to the temple to pray, one a Pharisee and the other a tax collector. The Pharisee, seeing himself, standing by himself, was praying thus: God, I thank you that I am not like other people, thieves, rogues, adulterers, or even like this tax collector. I fast twice a week. I give a tenth of all my income. But the tax collector, standing far off, would not even look up to heaven, but was beating his own breast and saying, God, be merciful to me, a sinner. I tell you, this man went down to his home justified rather than the other. For all who exalt themselves will be humbled, but all who humble themselves will be exalted. The word of the Lord.
Thanks be to God.
When I was growing up in North Carolina, there were woods across from our house, just across the main highway, which almost fronted our house. And those woods were a playground for my very smart dog, Fred, and myself. It was a sizable landscape that cut through some of the least, that was a sizable landscape that we would visit and we would explore every day. Even on school days, I'd change clothes when I got home from school, and off Fred and I would go into the woods. There were paths and there were glades, and there was a small stream that cut through some of the least explored areas of the wood. But my curiosity was primarily aroused by this mysterious barbed wire fence. A barbed wire fence, old and rusty, that passed through an especially dense stand of trees. One beautiful North Carolina fall afternoon, my curiosity got the best of me. So I crawled over the barbed wire and held up the bottom strand so that Fred could pass under. Not going too far, I saw a very well-worn path that clearly led towards bright daylight, indicating to me that there must have been a field of some type on the other side of the woods. As I walked on the path, it wasn't long before I noticed that Fred had become agitated. He was a mix between a German Shepherd and a collie, very smart dog. And he became very agitated. His ears became alert. His tail was down. And the fur on his back was clearly standing on edge. At the same moment that I saw him go on alert, I heard a crashing sound coming toward us in the direction of the path, breaking limbs and stirring up the leaves that were laying heavy on the ground. Even before I stopped to reconsider the situation, Fred took off in front of me, expressing a very clear and low growl, and literally went out of my sight, disappeared from my view. Well, that was all the inspiration that I needed to turn around and start running back toward that barbed wire fence, even as I heard this horrible commotion of Fred's barking. I mean, he's angrily barking, combined with a heavy trampling sound. I grabbed the post and literally leaped over the fence. And as I was catching my breath on the other side, the commotion stopped. And a few moments later, here came Fred trotting back, covered in leaves and sticks, and wagging his tail, very happy. Now, I never knew what was coming toward us that day. I never knew what Fred encountered. But later I learned that there was a farm on the opposite side of those woods with several large bulls, including one that was notoriously bad tempered. Whatever that thing was that day, one thing was certain: I would never cross that boundary ever again. And whenever I entered those woods from that time on, I appreciated the fact that someone had the good sense to keep in whatever might have gotten out of there. I appreciated that fence. Boundaries and borders can be good, obviously. They can be great when they are established to protect life or enhance civility. And that doesn't matter which side of the boundary or border that we're on. From our earliest years, is it not true that we are taught to respect the boundaries that we encounter every day? Whether we are crossing the street or staying on the other side of the fence where we hear that angry bark on the other side, behind the fence. We've all heard that common saying, we've all heard it, good fences make good neighbors. And how can we doubt the truth of that? Totally true. But boundaries can also be cruel. Boundaries and borders can be oppressive, creating divisions between prosperity and want, between hope and despair, between peace and violence, between freedom and captivity, even between life and death. Henry J. Nouwen, in his book titled The Three Movements of the Spiritual Life, reflected on how his struggle to love God might free him to love the world in spite of the world's cruel boundaries and sinful nature. This is what he writes. The great spiritual task facing me is to so fully trust that I belong to God that I can be free in the world, free to speak, even when my words are not received, free to act, even when my actions are criticized, ridiculed, or considered useless. I am convinced that I will truly be able to love the world when I fully believe that I am loved far beyond the world's boundaries. A love far beyond the world's boundaries. That love beyond the boundaries of the world spoken by Nouwen was the same love embodied in Jesus of Nazareth, particularly when he confronted the boundaries and the borders of his own religion, of his own religious tradition. The story of the Pharisee and the publican is a story of religious and spiritual and cultural boundaries. But it is also a warning about the way we judge others, especially those who live their lives on the other side of our boundaries. The ones we create, not for our protection, but for the sake of our prejudices. Two men went up to the temple to pray. One a Pharisee, the other a tax collector. The Pharisee, standing by himself, was praying thus: God, I thank you that I am not like other people, thieves, rogues, adulterers, or even like this tax collector. I fast twice a week, and I give a tenth of all my income. You know what that sounds like? It sounds like a good member to me. Like a good member. But the tax collector, standing far off, would not even look up to heaven, but was beating his breast and saying, God, be merciful to me, a sinner. To understand the depth of Christ's parable, we must understand the depth of the spiritual and physical boundaries that divided the religion of the temple. Those boundaries were easiest to see in the geography of the temple complex and the name of its highly segregated precincts. At the farthest boundaries of the temple complex was the court of the Gentiles, the closest that any non-Jew could get to the temple without penalty of death. You try to go any further than the court of the Gentiles, they would kill you. Next came the court of the women, named so not to honor women, but because Jewish women could not go beyond that court. And that was followed by the court of the Israelites, reserved for the righteous Jewish laymen. The court of the priests was the innermost court, in which stood the sacrificial altar, and right beside it, the entrance into the temple. The temple itself was divided by an inner room known as the Holy of Holies, which was reserved only for the high priest, who would enter it only one time a year. That is called a segregated territory. Christ's parable is set in the court of the Israelites, where it is obvious from the story that even in that court itself, there is a separation of proximity. Proximity matters. We see that in the story. The Pharisee, standing in the very center of the court of the Israelites, belonging to a religious party centered on piety and obedience to the law, does not just reflect on his social status in his prayer to God. He gloats about it. He gloats on it. The Pharisee's prayer is a prayer of thanksgiving, that's true. But it's not a prayer of thanksgiving for his blessings. It's not a prayer of thanksgiving for the fortunate circumstances of his life. Rather, he expresses thanks for the boundaries of his culture and the boundaries of his religion and the boundaries of his prejudiced heart. He's thankful for that. I'm glad I'm not like that guy over there. Thanks, God. In stark contrast to the Pharisee is the physical proximity and the prayer of the publican. Christ tells this story knowing that his listeners would understand that hated tax collector, that hated collaborator with Rome, is standing exactly where he deserves to stand in the geography of the temple, off in a corner, by himself. And he is praying exactly the prayer that he should pray in the social structure of his community. For he has nothing in their eyes for which to be thankful. God, be merciful to me, a sinner. He can't even lift his eye. He can't even lift his eye to heavens. The shocking reality of Christ's parable, however, is that of the two prayers that were lifted up that day in the court of the Israelites, of those two prayers, only one received an answer. And you know which one it was? It was the prayer that asked for an answer. It was the prayer that asked for something. God, be merciful to me, a sinner. Jesus said, I tell you, this man went down to his home justified rather than the other. For all who exalt themselves will be humbled, but all who humble themselves will be exalted. The new spiritual boundary that Christ creates is an inner one, not a boundary of walls or courts or ditches or fences. Not a boundary of proximity or power, but an inner boundary between humility and pride. And there's a point to that. The Messiah did not come to destroy all of the spiritual boundaries, but to transform them. To transform them from the hardware of religion to the software of the human conscience. The new boundaries of Christian conscience were built around inner discernment. The ability, as I was just showing the kids, to compare ourselves to the love and teaching of Christ, rather to compare others to us, to compare others to our personal standards of righteousness. Theologian Marcus J. Board clearly characterizes this transformation from outer to inner boundaries when he writes this: Jesus rejected the sharp social boundaries of the established social order and challenged the institutions that legitimated it. In his teaching, he subverted distinctions between righteous and sinner, rich and poor, men and women, Pharisee and outcast. In his healings and behavior, he crossed social boundaries of purity and gender and class. In his itinerancy, he rejected the notion of a brokered kingdom of God and enacted the immediacy of access to God apart from institutional mediation. In other words, he tore down the boundaries of religion and gave immediate access of the heart to God's love. The most shocking revelation in Christ's parable to me is that the same ugly, superficial boundaries that judged the publican also opened for him the path to salvation and grace. The publican knew what he was in the eyes of his religion, in the eyes of his culture, maybe even in the eyes of his family. He knew what he was. He knew it every day. The publican was always on the margins. The publican was always beyond the boundaries, hated by his own people. And according to his religion, he was hated by God. So if you feel that you are hated by God, what prayer are you going to make if you pray one? God, be merciful to me, a sinner. A sinner. Not worse than anybody else, but a sinner. You know, there are many in our culture, many people that dwell beyond the boundaries and the margins of our institutional and cultural and religious lives. They die in the desert. They're dying today. They languish in our hospitals and nursing homes. They suffer brutality in our prisons or physical and sexual abuse on our streets. They are rejected by their families and their communities and their churches. They are hated for the color of their skin or the way they talk or the way they think. They are the ones who cry for mercy. And we either ignore them, which we're very good at, or we fence our hearts against their suffering. The parable of the Pharisee and the publican declares that it is those we have judged beyond the boundaries. They are the ones who judge us. In their very cry for justice, and their very cry for mercy and forgiveness, they receive it. And the kingdom of God enfolds them in the infinite and unconditional and unbounded love of Christ. So where does that leave us? Are we on the inside looking out? Are we smug Pharisees, secure in the boundaries of our own piety? Or are we on the outside looking into ourselves? Sinners asking for God's mercy, seeing and hearing and recognizing ourselves as the publicans of our time, joining them outside the boundaries, even as we welcome into our hearts. So where does that leave us? I think I found that answer. And I found it in a question. I think I found the answer to that question in a book written by the Reverend Wendy Vanderwall Britton. Her book titled Generous Spaciousness, Responding to Gay Christians in the Church. And this is what she wrote. She's a minister. And this is what she wrote. I want to remind pastors and leaders that we do not own the church. God does. We aren't called to serve the church from a place of fear with our primary focus on protecting our boundaries. We are called to fling wide the doors, to invite to the banquet those on the margins, those who will challenge our comfort and our aversion to getting our hands dirty. She concludes with these words. Announcing the kingdom is risky business. Is she right? Is that true? See, I think her answer to the question, where does that leave us, begs another one. Will we take that risk? All of us, pastors, leaders, members, Christians. Will we take that risk? Bulls need boundaries. They are good. People need love. And Christ calls us to do it. And you got to go in to make it so.